bringing things to life. Marketing for us is really how do we drive consumers to the site, or grow that awareness outside of the website to drive people in. So we'll work with our marketing teams, and we have a variety of teams that we work with that will align with us and align with the vendors to put together plans for either campaigns or influencers or emails to drive back to the site or to specific collections on the site, right? To ultimately get the customer to convert, right? So we look at it very different. What's e-commerce versus marketing? Marketing is really how do we drive people to our site?
Kevin, you have any comments on that?
Yeah, so just from a campus recruiting perspective, we've actually really built up our marketing teams and provided a lot more opportunity, especially at the entry level, which in years past, it wasn't a huge focus. We're spending a lot of time on our Walmart media group, which is really like focused on online shopping and how we reach a lot of those populations that we were used to just kind of going to the brick and mortar in the past, but now looking to enhance their experience through online shopping. Which has just been tremendous. We've been partnering with a lot of celebrities and people like that have large followings. To Ryan's point, it's really the future. And if we can nail those markets where they have large followers, that's really just going to help us grow in that space. So it's been really interesting, but it's been one of the areas that we've really boosted our recruitment efforts and really are driving to enhance what that experience looks like in the future.
Well, I think that's good for students to know. I know that there's some marketing students that are participating today. So I think it's just good information for them in addition. So anybody else have any more comments until I move on to the next question?
I think the only thing I would say, if I'm thinking about e-commerce and marketing, so like, again, I think about the platform discussion, like as a brand, like I'm using a Thai example, you have like Amazon, you have Walmart, like all these places you could potentially create a partnership with that retailer and potentially, gain distribution for your products. And then once you gain that distribution, it's kind of on you as a brand, at least on Amazon, this certainly is, all right, like what marketing tools are available for you to actually market your products to the consumers. And on Amazon, that's, hundreds of millions. And so there's a variety of techniques and ways you can do that. A lot of it is super self-service. And I think to what Kevin was mentioning earlier, I'm kind of familiar, I think we intersect a little bit where like, Walmart has now invested heavily in a advertising platform that Tide can literally, develop self-service campaigns where they can increase the visibility of their products. That has also existed on Amazon for a long time. So a lot of like what we recruit for at Flywheel, since we represent, brands who are looking to, essentially they already have a relationship with Amazon. They already have a relationship with Walmart. They're just looking for a partner to manage more of the marketing side of it. And that includes a lot of like the advertising vehicles and the things you can do. And so I don't know if any of the students here, like I assume you guys shop on Amazon, but if you like search literally anything like chocolate, you'll probably see, right, that like the first 4 rows, you look really closely, those are actually not, we're getting kind of technical here, but like not organic search results. Those are actually placements that brands are paying for. And that is actually either managed by that brand or through like an agency that's doing it for them. And so there are a variety of vehicles that are there, and a lot of the skills to be able to do that is like using technology, using analytics and things like that. So a lot of what specifically Flywheel recruits for is folks who are interested, like a lot of times like it is marketing majors, but also I would say like double majors in info systems, supply chain, like e-commerce, like goes much beyond marketing. But I would say just like, it's a really good opportunity if you're interested in marketing, but digital, and also like you have a very good aptitude for data, because I don't know if the rest of you guys, but like I feel like e-commerce is built on the ability to analyze and utilize data. Yeah. So that's a lot of what we look for, and at least specifically recruits at Flywheel. So.
Yeah, Justin, I think that's a good point, because any of the marketing based information that we look to invest in or enhance is all based on data, right? That we look at analytics. We have a whole analytics team that goes through and looks at the performance of emails, open rates, click-throughs. We look at the influencers and the impressions. So there are multiple teams that do multiple work on data points to understand what's working and what's not working.
So specific to Amazon, there well, I would assume you would call search engine optimization probably falls under marketing or any kind of business type thing. But so when you sell on Amazon, as you guys said, first of all, you go on Amazon, the first whole page is all ads. It's all sponsored products. So that's what's called above the fold. Under the fold, it's like if you're folding a piece of paper, is where all like if I typed in candy, I'd want to show up in the #1 spot. So when we build listings, we have to put the marketing into like, what words are we going to put in the title? What are the pictures going to be? What are the 5 bullet points going to be? What are the keywords? What's the description? How's it going to look on the mobile phone? And then we have software that tells us what every word is on our listing. So we know, oh, candy, variety pack, how many times a month is that searched? And then we try to, but if you just throw that up there for the search engine, it won't look good. So we have to make it so that it's good for a search engine, it's good for a customer. So we have to have the right title. And we were lucky enough that this year we got the word Amazon's choice for candy. And it wasn't Hershey, it wasn't Mars, it was one of our brands called West End Foods. And what that means is Amazon envisions a day where you don't even order from a computer. There's no screens. You just, I'm not going to say it because but you would say, hey, the Alexa word, and you say, order me some candy. And if you have the Amazon choice badge for that, let's say it was, hey, order me a cup. If someone had the Amazon's choice for cup, that's what Amazon would send to your house. So marketing is also in these weird worlds of voice ordering, and it's search engine optimization. There's a lot of places that you also don't have to pay for. So if you make good listings that are search optimized, that show up, those items will sell themselves as well. And I think that's marketing too. Maybe you'd call that organic marketing.
Right. I'm looking at this question in the chat. Do you think cryptocurrency will have an influence on the continual growth of e-commerce?
I'll answer that one. I love cryptocurrency. If you saw a board right next to me, I have maybe 5,000 logos of every cryptocurrency for each ecosystem. But I'll just sum it up like this. So there's sort of these metaverses that, like, one's called Decentraland, which is sort of like The Sims. And what happened in this last week is someone actually in Decentraland ordered a real pizza. And so they went in there and they paid with Mana, which is the crypto of Decentraland, and they sent them a pizza. So what's going to happen is in these little worlds, maybe this next, in 2 years from now, this Zoom is in Penn State's little blockchain world, but basically what that is decentralized. So these games, I'll just, without going on an hour tangent, there's another coin called Engine Coin. And basically that is a coin that basically if you played Zelda and you got a sword, let's say, and you were done playing Zelda, you would lose the value of the sword. But what's happening now is they're putting it on the blockchain, and that sword now will have value. Let's say you played another game. You would take that sword and you could transfer it to another game. No one's going to stop you. It's all through the decentralized world of crypto. And I'm not suggesting anyone buys any. I'm just telling you about this. But what happens is then all of a sudden now you can transfer a sword to another game. Guess what? That opens up a marketplace. So now I could sell you a sword. I could sell Kevin a sword. We can make swords. So there's a whole digital sort of world of e-commerce that I'm studying at this exact moment. So crypto has a big place in this because what's been accelerated by COVID has been digital payments. So you probably heard the news today. If you did it to PayPal now, you could probably go into a store and pay with your crypto. That's not e-commerce, but if you can go into a regular Walmart in the brick and mortar, I'm sure won't be so long till you can buy some, which you already can, through sort of a blockchain Visa card. You could buy something anywhere with crypto now. That could be a whole other Zoom session, but
Another roundtable.
what I would warn everyone is that out of all the crypto, let's say there is 5,000, most of them will fail, but some of them won't. And the ones that don't are going to be, like I just said, marketplaces, things you can't even think about right now. They're going to happen in the crypto world, which will be involving e-commerce for sure.
Check my chat here before I go to my next question. Okay. What do you like most about your job? And what do you see as a challenge with your job? Christine, I'll call on you. Because you're to my left.
So what do I like? So I think my place within e-commerce, right, is really category merchandising. And the reason I like that, well, let me tell you a little bit about what that is. It's, I gave a little bit of visibility to this in the beginning, but it's really where my team works specifically with the merchants. And we align on how we want to bring things to life online. So we think of it as if somebody were to walk into a Dick's Sporting Goods store, and what you see when you walk in, when you come into our site, what do you want to see on the site as you're walking through some of our pages, if you will. So being a merchant previously, I loved working with the product and with the vendors. And I think this role with, even though it's within e-commerce, really helps me stay connected to the product and to understand, you know, what the consumer is looking for and bringing that to life online. And obviously, big on fitness, big on sports. So being connected to that and the product, you know, there's a lot to love about this role and being able to bring that to life online.
Excellent answer. Justin.
Yeah, I think for me, and I think I'll speak more about the roles that I'm recruiting for. I actually started in our kind of entry-level e-commerce retail specialist role, if you will. So basically, it's the opportunity, at least in our world, again, like as an intermediary between the brands that are looking to sell on Amazon but accelerate their sales there. You essentially have the opportunity to work with some of the world's largest brands and kind of drive their strategy on Amazon. So it's actually a lot of like what you were talking about, Ryan, around like, you know, the keyword optimization, the recommendations for content and things like that. So I do think that, at least as far as like the career opportunity at Flywheel, it is, and again, like I don't have much context because this is the only thing I've been doing since I graduated college, since 2014. But you know, the opportunity to get in front of you know, the VP of e-commerce at a Fortune 100 company and being literally like, hey, like for your top product on Amazon that's driving millions of dollars of sales every day, like these are the keywords we recommend for your title. These are the content optimizations we would recommend. This is the media strategy we would recommend, getting their alignment and then actually getting to execute that and then literally see it by like typing into your keyboard or, you know, using the portals and technology we have and seeing that go live. That was always for me the most rewarding thing that made me really excited about the industry, because I always felt like I was truly, I could see the impact of my work. It's obviously it's all online, but you're literally moving, you know, cases of products and helping actual brands and businesses out there. So for me, that was always the most exciting part of my industry. And I think, you know, I think each side of the industry has a unique opportunity to offer. So that's just my personal experience.
So what have been some of the major changes? I think this is like something I'd really like to focus on just because we're halfway through the time. What are some of the major changes you've seen, especially over the last year, or even just in your time being in this industry with e-commerce, good or bad?
Well, I'll give you one. The rules are always changing. So when COVID came last year, we focus on, we do good at seasonal selling. So we candy, like Valentine's, these are mega trends that will never go away. They'll always be here. Valentine's Day, Easter, Halloween, and Christmas. So we have a bunch of candy-filled eggs, and we send them all into Amazon Fulfillment. And Amazon Fulfillment is where if we send in 1,000, say, products on a skid and we get an order, they'll pick, pack, and ship for us. So if I got 3,000 orders today, I wouldn't be able to keep up. Or 35 of us, we couldn't keep up. But Amazon has unlimited resources, and that's not all where we sell. But during COVID, Amazon said, oh, well, they didn't say anything really, but that item got deemed not essential. So if you wanted to order our 5,000 eggs that were in Amazon, they would say they'll be delivered to you on 5/1. Well, guess what? That's after Easter. So all those items we had to destroy. And that hasn't been the first time that's happened. So items kind of can get stranded or bad things can happen. And that's one major thing. So that happened with us for a bunch of items. Let's say I ordered 1,000 ponchos with a pumpkin on them. We could sell 200 of those a day at Christmas, at a Halloween. They'll sell actually from July to October. But Amazon, because of COVID and because, you know, as all these, they have to deliver the essential supplies. No one cares about a poncho in July, but when Amazon says, oh, you can only send in 200. So now you have to sit on your other 800. So there's a lot of changes, and our mission is to be agile, to be positive, and to be innovative. So we have to just keep changing, and all these marketplaces have their own rules, and COVID really kind of screwed all that up, but still just keep changing and we work through it. But those things can happen. So we have to somehow be better prepared for it, but it did happen.
Sorry, I'm muted. I think one of the things that's important from what you said in any aspect, especially for the students, is something I've been talking to them about, is this idea of being able to adapt. So regardless of the situation that we've all been in over the last year, you know, when the students are going in and applying for a job or an internship, et cetera, that a lot of the questions they're being asked is, what have you been doing over the last year? And so they need to be able to say that I learned how to adapt, or I pivoted and I learned a language, or I learned an instrument, or I updated my resume, whatever it is. Not, you know, that you sat at home and watched 20 shows on Netflix to catch up on, you know, that you read a book or something. So I think one of the key things that you're saying for anybody is that we've all learned basically how to adapt over the last year, or that we still need to learn how to adapt. Does anybody else have any comments on that question before I move forward?
I would say that I've been in a couple sort of presentations where the old school brick and mortar companies, and Christina, you might be one of them. I'm not sure how far along you guys were with the e-commerce back in 2019 or 2018. But when they talk to the grocery Kroger and the main grocery stores and some of the other, how they've accelerated their expenditures in the e-commerce department, where they wouldn't give them the time of day, give them the funding to do stuff for the employees, the manpowers to expand that business. Now, I think 2020 has just accelerated all of that, where they had to get that market share back of lost foot traffic. And they were willing to dump all kinds of resources into curbside pickup and their website and how do we make it better? You need more people, sure. I thought some of those sort of anecdotal moments were interesting to me, because we spent our time chasing, you know, the brick and mortar business had sort of a stranglehold on manufacturers, but, you know, they have relationships with them, you know, wanting to sell product to us so we could sell it on Amazon was not something they were interested in. Their partners weren't interested in it. But I know we felt like that was where the future was going. People were going to buy more and more stuff online, didn't matter what it was. Now people are buying cars online. They're showing up at their house. I mean, but I think 2020 is just, you know, blown that through. You know, we're at 2025, 2026 now, all of a sudden, maybe in a hurry. I think that's been an interesting part. And I don't know if Christine has any comment on that. She might know more.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just changes in general, right? We've had to adapt e-commerce since I've been in the e-commerce world. Change is just part of the job, right? You have to be willing to roll with the punches, and everything's constantly changing. And I think somebody mentioned about, you know, we build things that we can see, you know, in real time, right? So as soon as we do something, we're not waiting 6 months to go to a store to see it. We can see it the next day on the site, and see how customers are interacting, right? We can see those analytics of the performance. I think when COVID happened, you know, it shifted so much to online that we thought we were 27 before. I don't know how, when I look back, how my team managed during that time, because we were working so much to make sure that the athletes had what they needed. People were trying to keep their kids occupied, buying soccer nets and footballs, I mean, golf clubs, you name it, running shoes. People have started running. So it just created an explosion for us. And then with being able to create the curbside pickup in the couple weeks that we did was amazing. To be able to help athletes feel like they were safe, they could pull up to the store, get whatever they purchased and leave. So yeah, I mean, I think all your points are valid. It's a changing industry, and you have to be ready to change immediately. And there's so much gray. There's nothing in e-commerce that I feel is black and white. You're just always in a gray area of trying to figure out and really reading the metrics to know what to do next.
Was it shocking, Dick's, at first? Like all of a sudden quarantine happens, COVID comes, and was it just like, what are we going to do? What was it like being at like Dick's during that experience?
It was definitely not what are we going to do. We had a pretty solid plan and pulled together. I have to say, it was a great experience for as horrible what we were going through as the world, or what the world was going through. From a internal perspective, I think all of our teams got much stronger and closer, and we pulled together and just did whatever we needed to do. I don't think no one asked at that time, I guess I should say everybody asked, what more can I do, right? We just jumped in and did whatever we needed to do, working with our partners. We had stores closing left and right. We had, athletes that were sidelined that couldn't work in the stores, right? So we wanted to keep our online business going so that we could, honestly, keep people employed. That was the goal. So we managed through that, fortunately, doing okay. So.
Yeah, I was going to comment, with COVID, everybody was, the gyms were closed. You're talking about, people working out at home, people were starting to run, or that was their only option, for a period of time because we were on home confinement, to go out and walk or run. And I thought you guys pivoted extremely well, especially with the curbside pickup. I'm still trying to get weights.
Yeah, I think that's you and everybody else. Right. I mean, it's just, it's such a downstream effect of where it affected the vendors, that they're shipping, getting us product. We're still not caught up. But, the other piece of e-commerce that I don't know that we've touched on yet is really the cybersecurity piece of it too, that for people that are looking for careers within e-commerce, it's a place that, with having the footwear area and footwear launches, it's something that I've gotten to know very well with my tech team and cybersecurity, and trying to get educated every launch we have, because there are people out there that will try different things to hack in, and with bots and all kind of things. So that's a whole other different avenue, for anybody interested in e-commerce.
I'm just going to respond to a student. Rachel, do you feel like your question was answered by Christine? You can just respond in the chat. Yes. Okay, great.
May I ask Christine a question?
Christine's on the hot seat.
You're focused on apparel or footwear. What type of returns do you see? So one big headache or challenge for e-commerce is dealing with all the returns. And the reason I order from Amazon is that I can return it without any questions asked. So maybe sometimes I order something to try it and I return it. And that's just the way it is for clothes. And that's why we order from these places. But what type of returns do you see at Dick's in your area for e-commerce?
I would say it depends on the area specifically. Like cleats, we'll see, I wouldn't say necessarily a larger return. Trying to navigate this politically.
You're like over 10% or?
Yeah, I don't know that I can give those specific metrics, but I will say it used to be when we earlier in the site, earlier in my career with e-commerce, they were pretty high percentages. We've now gotten to the point where I think the content that we've put on the website gives the customer a better idea of what the sizing will be, with size charts, enhanced copy. Like there's a lot that we've done that I think have made people feel comfortable. We also take returns in store too. So I think people have the level of comfort that if they order something online and they don't like it, they can take it back to the local store. Just try to be as convenient as possible.
That's a good idea to try to prevent. So if your website is better, or the presentation of the pictures, to prevent any confusion from the beginning, that could shave off a couple of percentages, which when you're talking about, it could be $1 million.
Yeah. And there are third parties out there too, just for the students, there are third parties out there that are working on things that enhance the sizing, the size charts, and also help give people visibility to what size they are, no matter what site they go to. So if you sign up for certain things, it tells you, okay, in this Nike product, you're going to be a size small. In this Adidas, you're going to be, a size medium or what have you. But it helps you with sizing. So there are a lot of third parties that we talk to that that will help us, provide a better experience for our athletes so that they can feel confident in their purchase.
Thank you both. I have a question just for students, because I know that this is frequently a question that students ask when employers come on into a panelist. What are the skills what are some of the skills do you think are important for them to develop in order to get into this field? Kevin?
I think mostly it's a passion for the industry. So you have to be passionate about what you're selling and what you're doing. In my space, for supply chain, obviously we look for supply chain majors, but when we look at like merchants and buyers, it could be any different background. But I think which Justin had alluded to a little bit earlier, is that we do look a little bit more at people that have more technological background. So even if that's being a finance major or being a marketing major, but minoring in something that's more technologically focused, I think has been a theme that hiring managers are looking more for as we move more towards hiring in the e-commerce space.
I've been actually in a lot of my conversations with employers over the last couple of weeks have stated that data analytics or IC minor is really important right now. Anyone else want to add to that? Justin, Dave?
Yeah, I think just for me, I think kind of echoing what Kevin was saying, I totally agree on the passion part of it. And I think too, just general career search, I think do the research on the companies that you're interviewing for, really trying to understand what they're about, their mission, because at the end of the day, you want that to be a cultural fit. And I think every company can be unique in that respect. At least in our side of the industry, most of the folks we work with are very passionate about e-commerce, they're hardworking, they don't mind rolling their sleeves and really digging in. And this is definitely a fast-paced industry. Like Ryan mentioned, the rules are always changing. So you do have to be pretty adaptable too. I mean, if those are things that kind of drive you, this is a good place if you're just looking for something, in my opinion, just clock in 9 to 5, have one thing you do every single day. This is probably not the industry for you. If you're driven by being challenged every day, learning something every day, this is a fantastic industry for that. And that's at least my Flywheel experience, but kind of, at least when we're recruiting, some of the things that we look for.
So I'm going to kind of segue, because I'm going to give the students a few minutes. I'm going to take a couple more minutes for a question, but segue. So Dave, you do a lot of work with the internships at Supply Tiger. And so looking at the skills that the students should be able to develop, is it easy to get an internship? Do you recommend an internship for students?
I definitely recommend an internship for students. Understanding, I think for us, our competition is a little bit of people think that they can just do this out of the garage and make $1 million. And you get to a point where that's just not how it can work. You got to expand, you got to take on other hats, you got to be a manager, you got to hire people. So to get an internship at a place like Supply Tiger and see all aspects of the company, from whether it's product research to creating the listings and doing the marketing, the search engine optimization, to the supply chain part of it where you bring stuff in, you pack it up, you send it out, and then making sure that your inventory levels are right. I mean, these are all, there's a huge scope to it that I don't think that we get interns, they talk about selling on Amazon and their experiences with it. And it's well, that's not exactly what we're doing here. I mean, it's a great idea, but that's not how it is if you want to make it a business. So an internship and getting experience throughout the whole gamut of the business is, I think you have to do it. I definitely recommend it.
Great. Okay, do any of you have anything that you want to add before I just kind of reach out to students and see if they have any questions at all that I haven't? Oh, I did have a question here. I'm sorry, I missed. How much focus do you place on retargeting those who have engaged with your brand, and how would you go about doing it? I'm trying to,
So let's say on Instagram, we run an ad, and we're just learning about this now. So it's a great question. So we are actually figuring this out now with a computer science major from Penn State. It doesn't matter your major, by the way. So we want people that are self-starters with passion, like Kevin said, and that are entrepreneurial. Sorry, I just got lost. What was your question, Tina?
and I muted myself. How much focus do you place on retargeting those who have engaged?
So if we, this is what I learned. We hire people, by the way, to teach us because we don't know everything. But for when we do ads on Instagram and we set out sort of your first batch, let's say we're going to spend $100 and target people that like the Philadelphia Eagles or something, and we'll sell green candy to them. After that first batch of people sort of view that on Facebook or Instagram, we then can set up a follow-up ad to target only you retarget. It's even confusing for me to explain it, but we then send a follow-up to the people that sort of maybe they clicked on the listing or they did this. So you first from the whole world, let's say, you get to your sort of target audience, and then you have to retarget them again. And we do that several times. And I don't even know the answer to it, but we go through the process a few times to get down to sort of where the customer might buy candy or a costume or something like that. Justin might know the most about this. What do you think, sir?
Yeah, I can say so. I mentioned Amazon advertising. So we talked a little bit about sponsored products, sponsored brands. So again, like when you're typing in chocolate on Amazon, so you're in market for chocolate, like you're ready to buy chocolate on Amazon, like those ads can hit you like very what we call like low down the funnel. But if you're looking to potentially, I think one of the cool things about Amazon is that they can also provide you that data back to be like, hey, if you want to retarget someone who looked up chocolate, but didn't necessarily buy your brand, let's say you're like Hershey's, you could actually set up a marketing campaign to go after those customers, and they can actually follow you around the internet, and you'll see ads for that competitor's brands on, weather.com and the other properties that Amazon is allowing advertisers to advertise on. So again, it's a very complex ecosystem. There's a lot of different tools, not just, on the Amazon platform, but like it's called the DSP, so display advertising. But again, just like another cool, I guess, career area that you could potentially dive into.
One thing we find is if we like say we target 3 times, those people that have seen the ad, they don't want to see it anymore. And after a certain period of time, the whole thing just goes away. So it's not like something you can just set up forever. You always have to adjust it.
And I was saying these roles though, like I think a lot of what you'll be doing is like doing the research to figure out, hey, like what consumers do we want to target? Like what is their behavior? How long do we want to target them for it? So it's like, again, like I think in my opinion, like it's just work that always excited me of just like, if you're interested in a career where you're going to be doing kind of the back end hard work, but then actually watching your campaigns live on the internet, and then also getting to monitor the impact in terms of the actual sales you're driving. I mean, to me, that was the most exciting part. So I know some people like prefer the more in-person, maybe in the brick and mortar, but I would even say like in this industry too, like I think Ryan, you were mentioning earlier before we got on like the trade shows, and like there's a lot of opportunity to also, it's not just behind the computer work. I think it's a good blend of you're behind the screen, but a lot of also like human facing interaction too, even though it's online.
There's definitely, I don't think we have any psychology majors on here, but there's definitely a psychology piece to this as well. I've had students in the past who have come to me and said, oh, I'm doing advertising as my major and psych as my minor. And it totally makes sense. If you're trying to figure out who to target and, brand your specific item or whatever it is that you're putting out there to I want to sell Elmo. So I'm going to target moms and kids that want Elmo. So I think it's kind of interesting how a lot of different majors fall into this industry.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I have any other questions here. Students, do any of you have any questions? Are any of you brave enough to turn on your camera or write anything else in the chat?
I don't think we've seen any of you guys.
Yeah, we only have one that has a picture on. Anything else? All right, so I'm going to end with a question. If you could go back to being a senior in college, knowing what you know now, what piece of advice would you give yourself? And I'll end with this one. So I'll let everyone kind of think, give their little spiel, And students, if you have anything at all, go ahead and put it in there and we'll end with that.
I can go, Tina. Is it?
Go
wait
ahead.
for
Thank
somebody
you,
to go?
Dave.
Yeah. So I have a 12-year-old and an 18-year-old, and I try to tell them all the time. I played basketball. That's all I did. I played basketball all the way through college. I was a part-time student and a full-time, but I did not participate in all the things that campus had available to me, and I regret that. Meeting new people, doing new things, participate. I mean, even if it's an extra in a play, I mean, whatever it might have been at the time, go out there and participate in as many things and opportunities that you can, because networking is going to be the thing that can sustain you, make you successful, give you more opportunities in life. And it starts tonight, it starts tomorrow. Go participate in as many things as possible. That would be what I would tell myself as a senior in college. Yeah.
Great advice. That's the same advice I would give myself, but we're not here to talk to me. Justin.
Yeah, I would say, I think I echo a lot of those things I think certainly for myself, I didn't leverage a lot of the resources that were at University of Maryland, but I feel like there's a lot of those same opportunities at Penn State. I think I kind of woke up pretty late into my junior year, realizing like I hadn't done much during university and I hadn't taken advantage of the organizations, the career office and things like that. So, I mean, kudos to, you 5 who stuck around for the call here tonight and, are obviously listening in and learning about a new industry. But, I think it is tough. And I remember as a student, just, I'm relatively an introverted person. So, I never wanted to go to the career fairs. I think I talked to one employer, then ran away. And it was just like, you're sweating bullets. But I think you have to remember that, like, we're all at the end of the day trying to help our organizations. We're just trying to connect and find, the people who we feel are a fit for our culture and can add value to our organizations. And so if you're, hardworking person, you're interested, like, I would say, like, just like, Dave is saying, just, I think putting yourself out there, networking, and I think you've already taken the first step by just being here tonight. I would say though, like, once you kind of like recognize that piece of it, a lot of it is about marketing yourself and kind of, approaching the career search process kind of strategically. And so, it is a competitive job market. And if you're really gung-ho about the e-commerce industry, like, I would start, ask the questions about, like, all right, like, what skills do I need to build? What experiences do I need to be? Because, at the end of the day, like, we're going to get, anywhere from, 10 to 50 applications, and we're going to be taking the time to speak to the folks who have, started to build the related skills that we're looking for. So I think the more that you can understand, like, whether that's accounting or, finance or whatever, just like, the skills and what the organizations you are applying for are looking for, and marketing yourselves in that way in the resume and the interview process. I think that's super important too. So I think, again, you guys are all doing the right things of being here if you're truly interested in e-commerce, and obviously we can tell you whatever you guys need to know in order to get a job here. So,
Kevin.
I would say the biggest thing is to be curious and really explore your options. I had recruited for financial services for 7-8 years before this, hiring investment bankers, and you wouldn't believe the amount of students that I've hired that are now reaching out to me about opportunities outside of that. I think don't ever be too hard on yourself. You're going to find your path if you work really hard at it, and you explore. You're going to find something you're passionate about, and that will ultimately end up being the career that you were meant to be in.
Christine.
Yeah, I would just say, take advantage of everything that your senior year has to offer. But past that, I would just say, going into your first career, don't be afraid, right? Don't let fear stop you. If you're not sure of a job that you really want and you don't understand all the ins and outs, take that jump, take that leap, because you'll grow a lot. Looking back, I wish that's what I would have done. Instead of waiting until I knew everything about a role and then made an adjustment. I wish I would have jumped into more roles faster and learned more. So that would be my piece of advice. Just try everything, and don't let fear hold you back.
And Ryan.
I would say do what you love and just do it. Like, and get as many, as everyone here seems to say, get as many experiences as you can. And that is true. I was a paper boy. I worked at the Nittany Lion Inn, the Bryce Jordan Center, Chili's, Champs, all the places in State College. And just an example, there's sort of a motivational speaker I heard once at an eBay conference, and his name is Gary V. And he said a 26-year-old came up to him in the airport and was like, Gary, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And he was like, good, you're not supposed to. You're 26 years old. Get as many experiences as you can. And when you're 30, figure it out. So, you know, I didn't go to his class as much as I should. I wish I did. But sometimes I perform the best when my back's up against the wall. So you just got to do it. Just do it and do what you love. I didn't like going around the Bryce Jordan Center picking up gum in the whole freaking place. I was like, this is not what I envisioned as maintenance. So I stopped. So try it, test it out. You don't like it, you might fail 10 times. Just keep going. And don't give up. We have a thing. It took us 10 times to get into Hershey. And when we got into Hershey finally, the guy was like, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And we've had other places. We got into Wish. If you try 5 times and the person doesn't get back to you, maybe they broke their arm. Maybe they're out with COVID. Who knows what happened? Just don't give up. Just keep trying. And eventually, when you're 30 years old, you can figure it out. That'll be great.
Thank you so much. You guys, I really enjoyed learning about e-commerce and how to spell it finally. But no, I think the advice you gave was great. One of the key points I want to mention before these 5 students, thank you all for sticking it out. We had 17, is networking. So one of the key things, I don't want to say things, but I always tell students is the ability to network and to network. And so one of the opportunities during this panel is to take down the names of the panelists that are here and maybe connect with them on LinkedIn. And if you have more questions or you want to connect with them, you know, that's one way to do it. So take these names down. And if you can't connect with them or can't find them, reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to reach out to them and ask them if it's okay if you sent them an email, because connections lead to connections, which can lead to open doors. So I want to thank you all again so much for joining us. I know it's hard to work all day and then join a panel for an hour and talk, especially when we're all zoomed out, but I appreciate it so much. And several of them are the panelists are putting their emails in the chat. That would be great.
Reach out.
So thank you so much.